Welcome to Pivoting to Technology Adoption. I'm your host, Donna P. Mitchell, the Transformation Authority. Every week, I sit down with executives, strategists, and innovators to tackle the one problem no one's solving: why 70% of technology transformations fail. Let's pivot. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Pivoting to Technology Adoption. And today I have Greg Grant. Greg, I am excited to have. He's the founder of G Squared Advisors and the creator of the AI Sales Leader Certification Suite. With 30 years in enterprise sales leadership, including building the Google and Apple accounts at Celestica. Greg now serves as fractional CRO across SaaS, manufacturing, and professional services. He's a visited CEO speaker who runs workshops on AI sales leadership and the structural failures that hold sales organizations back. I was really excited that he was going to be on the show because at the end of the day, you all know that my thing is, why are so many transformations failing? And at the end of the day, he will be able to tell us about the sales leadership, the AI sales leadership. And he's an expert in that space. So I'll stop talking and introduce you to Greg. Greg, say hello to your audience and ours and give us some more insight on who you are, how you ended up being the sales expert, the sales leader expert with AI. And I really want to know what you're going to do and tell us, what are executives doing wrong in C-suite?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Donna. Thanks, first of all, for having me on today. Exciting topic for sure. So I'll give you the 30,000-foot view because obviously at this age, it's a long story. But grew up in New York and then went to school in New York City. Grew up and went to school in Buffalo where I got my bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. Thought I was going to be an engineer. That was the plan the whole way. But I relocated to California when I was 23 and I was interviewing with companies and they kept offering me sales jobs. I said, no, I'm an engineer. And they said, nah, you're a sales guy. I didn't know at that age that that was a really unique skill to have, be able to talk to people and actually be able to have really adept technology discussions with VPs of engineering and stuff. So I finally went to the dark side. I started out as an applications engineer for a semiconductor distributor and would go out with the field sales team and help them, sell
Mhm.
microprocessors and memory and things like. And then I realized, wait, these guys are making a lot more money than me, and I'm doing all the heavy lifting in sales. So that's when I fully moved over into sales. So yeah, high tech semiconductors, then system builds for video processing, and then Celestica, which was selling very high end manufacturing into the data center space. A lot of optics and 1 gig, 10 gig, 40 gig switch type stuff. Throughout that whole process, I saw a lot of common things happening, especially when I work with the Googles and the Apples, but I also had teams I work with that work with the small to medium accounts. And as I went on meetings, I saw this real common thing is there was no process. Maybe they didn't even have a CRM system, no strategy. They had bad comp plans. The salespeople had no accountability. So I started this fractional CRO business about 8 years ago for that exact reason, help small and medium business owners that can't afford to hire a full-time CRO or VP of sales because it's expensive. They can bring in someone like me. I have very good rapid situational awareness. I've been in sales for 40 years, seen it all. So I go in, I look at everything, and I can help them get to that next level and redesign their sales organization for success so they can hit their all-time sales records. What people are getting wrong now in AI and sales is they're chasing the shiny new tool. And I did this myself, and I learned this the hard way. I've been into AI for a while, but when it really started to get hot with all the new tools a couple of years ago, and I'm on these newsletters, and oh, that's really cool, and that's really cool, and I'd end up building a folder with ended up to be 80 bookmarks of things that I had to try and buy, and I
Mhm.
would buy a few, and that was cool, but it never got me there. Short story, I realized, and I tell my clients, it needs to start from the top, and you need to have a plan. Don't just go buy a tool for this, for that. Look at the entire organization. And the light bulb that went off for me was, here's the challenge I have. Here's the problem. Can AI help me solve this in some format? And that's really what opened up the whole future for me as far as getting heavily into AI and developing things and working with Claude Code and all that fun stuff. The vibe. So So the other part of the question was, what are sales leaders and companies doing wrong in AI right now? And what I see there is I see a lot of people chasing shiny new tools. There's all these great ads, and you get these email newsletters that talk about cool tools, and you end up, oh, let me buy this, let me buy that, and you end up with a bunch of $29 subscriptions, like you probably do with your 8 streaming services, right? And then you use it once or twice, it doesn't work. So the problem things fall apart is exactly for that reason. They're not looking at it from a high level. So I think a lot of people do this when they start using the AI is picking out that particular tool that looks cool. But really what needs to happen is you need to look at it from the problem. First of all, why are you even wanting to use AI? What is the AI going to do for your company? What's it going to solve? How is it going to make your organization better? How is it going to make it more efficient? What kind of ROI are you going to get? You need to sit back and think about these things first from a high level before you go start spending tons of money. Because if you follow it, there's been a lot of big companies that have spent a lot of money on AI trials that have failed, right? So
Millions and billions.
millions, billions, right? So why? Because they just threw, oh, we got to get into AI. So, and I always joke around and say, like, hey, 64.3% of statistics are made up. Right? However, the statistic that I've read about is, and I think it's probably pretty fair to say, between 70 to 80% of sales leaders right now are being pushed by their CEOs to get an AI sales strategy together this year. The percentage of teams and leaders that actually have a plan that is executable and will integrate with all these pieces together is under 15%. And I believe that from every sales leader I'm talking to, everyone, it's the top thing on their list from their CEOs. Build me an AI sales strategy by Q3.
Hmm. But you want to know something that really aligns to what I have been looking at over the decades. The transformations overall, the number kind of stayed the same around 70% when you look at all the transformations that failed. 30% were successful. But when you look at AI transformations, it's 95% that fail.
Yeah.
And you don't have much success at all. And that is another reason why I really wanted to talk to you on the show, because how do you just do the sales leadership and not pay attention to your strategy and everything else that goes with it, your marketing? And are you really doing something that's going to help your internal and external customers and the overall operation of the organization? So when you work with sales leadership and you work in the sales space, what are some of the trends that you're seeing that they're not paying attention to?
I look at it by efficiency, right? So I think I look at sales a lot differently than I'm not the rah motivational guy, right? I am an engineer, so I look at sales from a very systemic and process oriented type of thing. So, there's a lot of things that are missing. So, for instance, I'll get into a lot of my clients as a fractional CRO, and one of the biggest complaints from the sales team is I'm spending 4 to 6 hours a week researching my clients, right? Okay, first, good. Most salespeople don't even do that. They just show up with a brochure and try and pitch products, right? So I really like to work with consultative salespeople. But for instance, so let's say I have a meeting tomorrow with Google and I know the 10 people I'm meeting with. Now, a few years ago, I would have to go on LinkedIn, scrub all the information, look for any stuff on the internet, maybe read an annual report. It's hours to get prepped. So I can go into that meeting like, hey, I'm actually prepared more. Well, now I just put a deep research prompt into your LLM of choice and come back in an hour. I've got a 20-page dossier on every person that's going to be in their meeting, the company strategic initiatives. And you can go in. I just read your 10Q last week before we came in, and you say wow, right? What kind of
Mm.
difference? So let's just say a salesperson is spending 4 hours a week doing research, 10% of their time. I just got back for them 16 hours a month. It's almost 200 hours of selling time a year. That's one thing, right? Then automations as well for social media. I've got some things I have going on LinkedIn working for me. Uh, Scripting, meeting prep. What I'm really liking a lot is AI role playing, which is great for sales leaders to play around and kind of say, hey, I think this salesperson needs help here. You build a custom role play, have them do it. You take it back, put it through the AI, through a rubric you create. It spits it out. It gives you top 3 things they did, top 3 things they could work on. So it makes, from a coaching standpoint, it makes it so much more efficient, without a doubt, because you can do better things. And let's say you have a big meeting in 2 weeks and you want to, how's that meeting going to go? You can build an AI role play and actually have a mock meeting. Here's the people we're going to meet. Here's what we think they're going to say. This is what we're going to say. And the AI does a really amazingly good job. And it's really easy to set up now. You can do it on 11 labs in like under 5 minutes.
So, with that said, so the process you're using AI a lot in the process.
Mm.
So when you're doing transformations and your people have a problem, that's usually when things are gonna fail anyway. The technology always works. It's usually fine. It's the people in the organization and the attitudes and resistance or fear or
Hmm.
losing their jobs or not liking the
Mm.
political scene or their boss or the or or the directors having a problem because, they done lift somebody and moved them over here and I didn't get it. At the end of the day, there's all this going on. How do you manage and get the sales teams moving forward in a positive way?
Mm. Yeah, that's a good one, especially from it depends which hat I'm wearing. When I'm the AI sales leader hat, it's easy because I'm their sales trainer, I'm their coach. I'm just there to help them. When
Yeah.
I come in as the fractional chief revenue officer, though, that is a much different scenario. So I'm sure you've probably seen the movie Office Space sometime along the ways. You know that old classic. There's the two consultants, Bob and Bob, and they come in and everybody's scared they're going to fire everybody, right? So I tell all the sales teams that report to me when I start with them, I'm here there really for two reasons. One is to help them remove roadblocks, and two is to help them make more money. And three is to be, there's a third, to be the battering axe with the CEO because they're scared to tell the CEO really what they want to say. So I can go in and build trust that way. Because when a consultant comes in from the outside, people are usually scared and they're scared about losing their job. So I have to get in there and immediately try and break that down and build trust. It has its own set of challenges, of course, and some people are very receptive to it and they want the help, and some people would probably prefer I'm not there because now I start holding them accountable, which is something they normally aren't used to. Weekly meetings, weekly one-on-ones. What does your pipeline look like? What did you sell last week? How are you doing versus your quota? These are questions a lot of times they've never been asked before. So there's a lot of change when I get involved with my clients. Very, very heavy transformation in the first 90 days, literally like flipping it around 180 degrees.
So when you do that, do you see results? What do
Oh,
most
yeah.
people
Huge
does
results.
the fare increase or do they
So
decide
it's
to get off
interesting.
the fence and go forward because look, I can't play around with this guy or I guess
All
what
of the above,
I guess what I'm
right?
trying to tap into is that some of the CEOs and those that are in leadership, they really don't know what to do or haven't thought about the organizational structure in a manner of AI technology and it being successful. They're used to saying it, you get it, make it happen. And that doesn't work. There's a disconnect. They'll say one thing in C suite or in a meeting to one person, but there's a big disconnect by frontline or middle management or even in HR. From your experience, for those listening, what do you recommend? What should be the takeaway?
For planning to implement AI in the sales department, is that the question? Yeah.
Yeah, for sales
Um,
adoption in the organization, in the sales department, and it's
right.
just not really going well, and that includes sales because if the
Hmm.
organization isn't really going well, you don't have the processes and they bring you in, a lot of the failures on the people side, and you're on the people side, even though
Hmm.
you have the process and you're taking care of the strategy, you're still on the people side. In my thesis, in my world. What do you recommend for those that are listening? Because as I communicate with some of the clients and different meetings, they seem to really be at a loss that, hello, you're really working with people. There's a lot going on here in these dynamics. What should they take away from this episode with you having so much experience in sales,
Mm.
be it
So
AI or not AI?
yeah, well, I'd say there's both sides to it. So I would say, and this goes into, so if you look at the way I've developed my the AI sales leader program, it's all based off of a methodology. It's called the 5 Ps, which is process, pipeline, performance. One of those things is psychology, right? So I'm very into disc analysis, disc behavioral analysis.
Oh,
So
okay. I know
yeah, yeah.
this.
Okay, so I'm a disc implementer. I'm a disc trainer. I've been doing that for about 15 years or so now. So
Mm,
when I start with a new sales team, first thing I do is I do a disc profile on everybody, all the leaders and all the sales team. Then
mhm.
I do a plot on a wheel so they can all stand. And then what I do is I do a 2 hour disc training. So the first thing is understanding who you are and then understanding the team members that you're working with. And then trying to go from tolerating to appreciating the 4 different behavioral types there are.
Mm.
That's the first play. When you're talking about just the whole side of managing people,
Right.
people don't talk to people the same way, right? And there's very different ways to do that. And that also works in sales. So let's just say you go, okay, all right, I'm due disc, uh, and it's, they're cheap, they're like $150 a piece or something. So I'm going to do a disc on my sales team. Well, you get it back and you do your training, you bring somebody to do it. Fine. But then what? Well, then you take those reports and you put them into AI and you say, here's all the disc profiles of my team. I'm having a problem with this. We need to do this. We're trying to do this. We're not succeeding. Look at the disc profile, look at my question and see give me some ideas of things we could do to improve this. That can be magical. Another really cool tool with disc is there's a add-in for LinkedIn called Crystal Knows. Crystal Knows is super cool because it's an overlay. You don't use it a lot because it's, they give you like 10 free credits and then they charge you. But you click it, it opens it up, a window, and if it's a good LinkedIn profile, it will actually go through and tell you what their estimated disc profile is, and it will help you like write emails. And if you're going to call them, say this. If you're going to write an email, do this, don't do this. So anyway, when you talk about the people side, I believe it heavily then leads into psychology. The challenge is, though, I'm going to diverge a little bit, is a lot of the CEOs I work with, unfortunately, they have that kind of, I'm going to be in the office with the door closed. And I'll say to every CEO when I start with them, one of the first questions I ask is, when's the last time you had lunch with your top salesperson? And I get looks like I'm an alien. And that to me it's malpractice, right? So the guy that is bringing in, or woman that's bringing in the most money, that's paying for your finance and your COO and everybody else in your team, you don't even know what their kids' names are. So back to that whole, it's all sales, everything. It comes down to human connection. And as the companies get bigger, as you know, like when I worked at Celestica with 35,000 people, that just disappears. And that's why I like to work in the small and medium business market too, because you can get things done a lot faster also.
So basically, the relationship that doesn't exist needs to improve and some interaction needs to take place and balance the needs of the organization and the people, which a lot of C-suite doesn't do.
No, and it's even harder
Not like
now.
the old days.
Well, it's also harder now because you have so many virtual people. Like I've had over 50 clients as a fractional CRO, and I think and this isn't an exaggeration, probably 5 I've even been on site with. And this is the world we live in. So if you're in a sales team, the old days we were all in the office and we'd go out and have a beer after work, and all that stuff's gone now. I remember the 2 martini lunches. I mean, gosh. Miss those. I don't know how I ever worked those afternoons, but boy, oh boy, we somehow did it.
No, we couldn't do the afternoons, but in the evenings, it would be very stressful in deregulation. And then, trying to be British Airways at the same time and everything else. It was interesting evenings. So I think everything that you're doing has brought in, you have the psychology, you got behavioral science, then you've got the organization, but I am really intrigued on how you're using AI. And you're using the AI on the enablement into the capacity of what's really going on with the teams and finding really the gaps
Right.
in knowledge or behavior disconnects that need to be modified. Am I understanding what you're really saying?
Yeah.
You're really
Yeah.
using AI in a different way than most.
Well, it's one of the tools in my toolkit. I use AI in many, many different ways for many different parts. And everything that I teach is stuff that I've personally done before. Right. So, and that's what the genesis was of me building out the AIsalesleader.com and building out the AI sales leader certification programs. Right. So right now in the marketplace, there's really most sales leaders, they just get thrown into the job. Like, okay, lead a team, right? There's not a great sales leadership training
That's
program.
true.
And there's nobody that's doing an AI forward sales leadership training program. So for instance, that program is 16 weeks. And every week out of that 90-minute session, they leave with 5 prompts that they go and they use that day and start changing their business. That's over a 4-month period. And then I've also built programs for hunting salespeople who have to get new clients and new business, as well as account managers. All of those are all built around AI and my 30 plus years of consultative selling and my expertise in engineering and AI, all put together in a comprehensive course for all models of the sales organization. And it addresses the second module in all the trainings is DISC.
So I really like this. So
Me
basically,
too. It's fun.
yeah, because see, you're saying a couple of things I haven't even thought about yet to use with the LLMs. The consultative selling piece, that training I did way back when. There was all
Mm.
kind of levels of training. I think who was out there then? I think it was Linda Richardson.
It's all the same, Donna. It's all Dale
Um,
Carnegie, just respin with another
yeah,
wrapper on it.
and I don't really hear a lot of that type of communication and training, but there are a lot of methodologies out there
Hmm.
for, change management, things that we didn't have names for 30, 40, 50 years ago, whatever,
Right.
you just did it.
Yeah.
You better figure it out,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, there's for now, ways to really cut the time, be more efficient, increase the ROI, look at the sales team, look at the behavior, the lack of behavior and the interaction and how they communicate or don't communicate or control the communication. And really, you can get a sales team up to speed a lot quicker today than you could in the past with AI if you utilize the appropriate prompts and come to your training and your certifications.
And that brings up a really good point too. 100%. And when you bring on the new salesperson, AI can be a really good help when you're setting up their onboarding program.
So tell us a little bit more what else you do. You mentioned that you do a lot of other things beyond this. What else do you bring to the table to help people with sales? Because this is the first time my audience is hearing anything about sales. I had one person come in recently
Okay.
for customer experience. I've had another person come in recently about behavior science. And
Hmm.
it runs along with what I've been trying to educate and communicate in regards to the
Hmm.
transformations that are taking place but failing. You're
Hmm.
coming in now talking about the most important piece, how to make the money,
Yeah.
okay?
The
Where how
engine.
you making your money?
That's
Where's your
right.
sales team, your outreach? What else can
Right.
you share so they can take away as much as possible from this episode? We're gonna have to
Yeah.
we have to stay connected to you too. So
Yeah.
tell us something
Yeah.
else. What else you doing?
Well, so, there's two arms to my business,
Mhm.
and the fractional CR work I've been doing for a long time. That's really built around serving the small and medium business owner, that you have a CEO that's usually they're stuck in that like $1 to $2 million range. You see this a ton of times with IT and cybersecurity companies. I don't know what it is, but they can't seem to get over 3 million. So they bring me in. They have no idea. It's a CEO. It's a technical guy, probably an engineer, software engineer, coder that has this cool product now, and they need to get it out to market. They don't know how to hire a salesperson. They probably never even heard of what a CRM system is, right? They don't know how to develop a compensation plan that's going to motivate the salesperson. When they come on, they don't know how to onboard them. And then who's going to hold them accountable and coach them and train them and build their quotas, all that. So it's just completely foreign to them. So I go in and I basically just build their sales organization from the ground up, which is great because I can build it the way it does. So that's the fractional CRO work. I'm in there for 3 or 6 months.
Mhm.
Either I build the Ferrari and give the keys back to the CEO, or we may hire a sales manager. My job is to work myself out of a job. I've had clients for 6 months. I've had clients for 3 years that have bought out by PE companies. Really cool. So that's been the core, right? And I would say from that standpoint, if you're a small business owner and you're doing it yourself, the things you really want to focus on, and you can take a look at my website, just the
Yes, I did. I
AIsalesleader.com. I
did
have
look at that
the
website.
five
That's
P's there on that
mhm.
front page. Those are the things you just need to focus on. If you take anything away, those 5 P's that are on that website, those are your pillars that you need to organize and make sure you understand. Then from there, it trees out. So when I'm speaking at Vistage, I have a system. It's kind of a 4 quadrant system, which is based off of process, people, strategy, and execution. And then from there, there's like 16 spokes that come out of it. Some of the things I talk about: compensation, accountability, process, strategy, written sales process, Watts, ideal client profile. There's a lot of words here and a lot of things that may not be familiar, but when you're going to market with a new product, you have to know this. So that's that. The other thing I do is I'm the fixer. Right. So we have a sales team. We've had, 6 people, and our revenue has been flat for 3 years. We've tried everything. We hired 2 VP of sales, but we don't know what to do. And then I come in a fixer. And usually those are a little bit more complicated and stressful, because then there's usually some staff changes we have to make and a lot of process changes, but we will get through it. So through all that, that's when I figured out that, wait, there's this giant gap in the marketplace right now. I'm using all the stuff in AI, and all of my engagements, I'm working with all the salespeople, and they're like, half of them have barely logged in, or they've done it to make dinner or something, or pick a vacation, but to do things of like actually getting it and using agents to actually do work for you, way, or building prompts around your business, it was foreign. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is something I know really well. It's something I can share with salespeople that can get better and sales leaders how to integrate, not only be a better sales leader, but how to integrate AI across your entire business and team. It's really powerful stuff. So that's kind of the whole suite of what I do. It keeps me pretty busy, I would say.
Yeah, it should because you really are bringing in everything from the corporate side, everything from the
Hmm.
Fortune 500
Right.
to the businesses that really don't understand everything they need to be successful.
30 years of that, right? I mean, I did the corporate thing for 30 years and then just spun off and decided I want to run my own business with that 30 years. And just like you, there were some days that were tough with the politics, but those
Yeah.
companies run pretty good. You learn a lot, right?
That's true, especially when you're with the Fortune 500. When you're with the big guys, you get to learn it all because you have to know it
Hmm.
all at the same
Hmm.
time and not drop a play. I used to say
Hmm.
that I can't drop a play. Why do you have two
Can't drop
phones,
a plate. I
Donna?
like
And
that.
why you got
Yeah.
two phones, Donna? You're on vacation. I know, but still, I got this project going on. So there's a
Yeah. Yeah.
client that, you know. So I really want to touch into you. So you have the sales. I've been in the aviation airline management
Yeah.
and then healthcare on the pharma side. And there's
Hmm.
a lot of regulation, there's a lot of
Hmm.
compliance
Hmm.
and responsible AI and GDPR and how are the sales teams getting their arms around that? Do you walk in that space a little bit with the guardrails?
Yeah. So
Where's
this
that
is,
going right now?
well, it's interesting, and it crosses another, you know, point that can be a friction point is there are a lot of CEOs that are delegating their large language model choice to IT, which is
Mm,
a disastrous decision.
mm.
They don't have the business mind, right? It's just unbelievable. So I think that's definitely a big issue, right? Is you need to go in there and, and own that strategy, right? So with I don't have specific experience in the airline anything air. I have had healthcare clients. In fact, I have a client right now that's in the interpretation and translation and interpretation services, and they service governments and schools. So they're subject to all the HIPAA requirements.
Right.
So that's been a very big challenge with them trying to integrate and see. We are using Gemini there and using it a lot internally. Clients are still hesitant, right? I think if my client was listening to this, they'd probably be upset with me. I think that translation business goes away within 6 months. I really do. And it's a big business, millions of dollars. You can do it already right now as Google Translate, and that's not, I mean, granted, it's probably not going to be perfect. So for government and schools and healthcare, they sell into healthcare. So they're like big targets to get into like the Kaiser or something like that. So yes, very much. The short story, as you know, is the more regulations there are in the overall industry, there's a lot more planning that needs to be done about AI. And you said the big word is AI governance, and that's this buzzword now, but the amount of people that are actually doing it and building an AI governance policy, it's the IT guy.
Mm. So what should people be doing so they can not be having chaos in the news, having a PR nightmare?
Mm,
Let's talk about that.
yeah. I think
When do
first
you
thing
see that
is,
really happen?
yeah.
Sorry.
So the first thing is when you're using your model, and I'm not sure, I think all three of them have it now. You go into your settings and there's a checkbox you can click whether your information is shared back with the model or not.
Mhm.
Check that off. So that means your information is not shared, right? That's the first thing. You have to make sure you're protected. The other thing where it gets, I think overall, when you're using the language models, if you're keeping it local on your desktop and just using the chat or something like that, you're okay. Where the risk really starts to ramp up, and I've experienced this firsthand, is when you start using agents. Because agents do a lot of great work, but agents also do go rogue and they do their own things.
They take off on their own?
Oh yeah, they just go off and do their own thing. So I use Claude. That's my preferred large language model.
Mhm.
And I've had it. So the best thing to do with the language models is to set up a personal context portfolio where it knows you. So you don't go in through this every time like, who are you and what do you do? So my AI knows me, right? But I also have AI full browser control. So I let it go on LinkedIn and I let it go and it helps me build my websites and my flyers, all those kind of things. I've also had to delete my website by accident. I
Really?
also had to delete my memory file by accident and then apologize profusely. Luckily, I am a technical guy, so I have like 4 backups every day. So it's going to be somewhere. But
Okay.
I've had 3 or 4 disastrous experiences with the agents. So this is where when people get concerned about AI is going to take all the jobs. Well, look, this is the biggest industrial revolution we'll ever see in our lives. This is like the car, the automobile, the TV, the airplane, like that. Bigger, probably, right? And it's not going away.
No, it's
That's
not
for
going
sure.
away. It's hitting everything everywhere all the time at the same time.
Almost every discussion you have these days with anyone, AI creeps into the discussion, right? Yeah. It's
Definitely.
exciting, though, I think. I mean, so anyway, be real control. If you're going to do stuff where you decide to do the browser control, maybe start out with like Claude Cowork or something and have it organized. Like when I did the first thing I did, I had to organize my desktop. And it's just a fascinating thing to watch because my desktop had 100 folders and you put Claude Cowork on and say, organize my desktop. And you sit there and you watch it creating folders and moving things around and creating new file names and like creating new folder. And it's like, is this really happening? I'm watching it build pages of my website off of a prompt. Hey, I want you to change that to blue and put an image here. And I want to like watching it happen. Just fascinating. So just that's the thing is when you give it browser control, I think. And then, of course, and this is for the bigger companies, then there's the whole cybersecurity thing and how are the systems tying together? Are there vulnerabilities? You know, the thing that I see that the high risk right now, which a lot of people don't know, is that if you're like cutting and pasting, so you may see a newsletter and they say, oh, I got this great prompt, put it into your large language model. Well, there's bad actors out there and they're putting these things called prompt injections in there, where it's like a micro tiny little pixel that you can't see or something that's black and they color it over white. And when you put that into your LLM, it fires up a virus in your computer. Yeah. So you want to put it in and you have either a program and you have, hey, I want you to scrub this and make sure this is clean, make sure there's no prompt injections buried in there. I've had a couple of things it's caught and said, you're not working with this because XYZ. And I was like, wow.
Where do the prompt injections come from?
Bad actors. Where do cybersecurity attacks come from? Where does hacking come from?
So some of those messages that you get that you know you shouldn't have, or they're using your email or sending you a message and want you to click the link, that is some of the prompt injections that as you call them?
Those things, or even in just cutting, say there's like cutting and pasting a prompt off of online. They can embed it into the text.
I've never done that. Okay.
Well, people do. It's like, hey, you get this newsletter. It's like, hey, put this prompt in. And you're like, oh, I wanted to do that. That's great.
Okay.
No, wait a minute. You'll find a lot of that stuff, and this for the more technical people on GitHub. There's a lot of the stuff you need to be careful about.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we close, what would you like to share that we didn't talk about? Did I miss anything? What would you like to share with the audience?
We went pretty deep. I think the thing just to reinforce for sure is, I guess the one thing I will bring up, which I didn't, and I think it's worth doing. A lot of people, a lot of discussions they have are basic questions. How do I do this? How do I do it? And I'll tell everybody, ask your AI. Build a relationship. Anything that you want to know about AI, it will tell you how to do it. When I did my first website with AI, I have a big screen. So I had Claude open here and I had the website designer over here, and we just went at it and kind of built it together. I took everything. I took a screenshot and I put it in the Claude and I said, what do I do now? Just go here and click this. Okay, what do I do now? That was how I built my first automation. So let the AI be your teacher. Anything your question. I have this kind of business. I just listen to this podcast. I want to think about doing this. How can I do it? How would I actually do it? What tools do I need? Help me build a plan for it. Day by day with to-dos. Like build me a dashboard. Like think about the wildest things. You can do it now. Like you have superpowers with the more you learn about it and start to use the tools. It's really exciting times. And the other thing is if you need any help with sales leadership or you're a CEO leading a team or want to learn how to get better using AI in sales, check out the AIsalesleader.com and give me a call and we can have a discussion and see if it might be a good fit.
Okay. I hope everybody heard that out there. I think he's a great guy and he has a lot of solid information. And at the end of the day, he knows sales and everybody needs revenue. So give him a call. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Greg, for being on Pivoting to Technology Adoption. And we are shaping tomorrow together. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you for listening to Pivoting to Technology Adoption. If this episode gave you something to think about, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a colleague who needs to hear it. My new book, Pivoting to Technology Adoption, Mind the Gap, is available now on Amazon. Visit pivotingportal.com to work with me directly. I'm Donna P. Mitchell, the Transformation Authority. Until next time, mind the gap.